Okay, welcome, and today we are going to one of the most famous and visited sites in the entire Holy Land called Caesarea, or in Hebrew, Caesarea. So, Caesarea is a city that was built on the coastal line and made Israel into become the most famous port in the Middle East. And why it's so important, and why Caesarea was and became such a famous place, such a famous city, and such a large city with a very deep water port, theaters, amphitheaters, hippodromes, an unbelievable water system that brought the water from about 15 miles away into the city. What made Caesarea so special? And it's all starting by understanding where we are in the world. And we're sitting basically, Israel is the only land passage between four different continents or four different regions in the world. Number one is Egypt. Egypt have the Nile. Egypt, the biggest supplier in the world for wheat. We can even see the Nile, and especially the delta of the Nile, from space. It's amazing. When you look from space, you can see that everything around is desert, and suddenly this one river is like a vein going through the deserts and coming into the Mediterranean, but making Egypt to become one of the most powerful empires in the ancient world. And it's very, very important to remember. And they will also become the biggest supplier of wheat because they could really produce wheat all year round. So this is Egypt, and this is wonderful on one leg. We will talk about it in some other tours even more. On the other side of Israel is the half Arabian island with Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, and Yemen. Why I'm saying Yemen? Yemen is an amazing producer of two important goods that we have in a very big interest for around the world. One is myrrh, two is frankincense. So, myrrh. Anyway, I really want you, when you go back home, you're home because it's a virtual tour. So, Google Yemen fauna, okay? It will blow your mind. They have trees that came from Mars. They have different plants that look really unique and special. And two of those trees are really creating sap. One of them is myrrh. Myrrh is very important for perfume. I want you to imagine that every lady that respected herself will have a small bottle from a Roman glass or a Greek glass, and this small bottle will have these drips of myrrh inside, and she will put it on this side or this side of her ears, and she'll have an amazing smell. And it's all oil, so it's made out of sap of this tree called myrrh, and it's really about a style. Now, it was very, very expensive. Why it was very expensive, it's another story, and we will touch it in a different time, but try to imagine what's happening in a city that don't have sewage. Yes, we had cities, until today we have cities around the world that don't have sewage. I will show you that in Caesarea that's not the case. But in a good city, even in a big Roman city, sewage is running on the street. So to smell good, it's really a privilege. So that's myrrh. Frankincense is the second thing that's coming, and it's really the smell that you can smell until today in every single church that you're going inside. It states from the Roman times. It was lit in temples. Now, it sounds like, okay, so why it would be such an expensive material, frankincense, if you have you just light it in temples. So this is a very important understanding of the ancient times, that the temple is the main tax collecting machine that you can have. It's like the local bank. That's where the governments would keep their money many times, in gold and in different tools. But for example, the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, you needed to go inside 3 times a year in the big holidays. And in order to go inside, you would need to have a half a shekel silver coin. So that's very important. And if you have bad smell, it's not attractive to go into the temple where you sacrifice animals. So obviously you have not such a great smell. So frankincense was also very, very important. So we have 2 sides, okay? We are building the foundation for the city of Caesarea to become this unbelievable city, and with so much power that it concentrated all these trade. So we have 2 places, but another place that have to bring their goods through the Holy Land. And when you have Caesarea and as a port city, that will become amazing tool to really make a lot of money. And the third area is the Far East. And the Far East, wow! Everybody heard about the Silk Road, right? So silk is amazing. But maybe the most important commodity that was coming from the Far East, not only spices and opium and, like we said, silk, is the best iron. The Chinese iron was very, very well known, was very, very strong. Until today, we know that some irons or Japanese knives from the Far East are really strong and very powerful. The same thing here. If you have a sword made out of a good iron, your army is stronger. So of course this is another commodity. And the last side of this map is right up there where you have Europe. And all the European empires that were changing, Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, all of them are really need those goods. So with this kind of an understanding, we understand that Israel is standing in the middle of it. And that's how Caesarea was born. But in order to build a city that in the ancient time was anywhere between 80,000 to 120,000 people, you need to have a big dream. And right here, coming into the play, probably the most famous figure in the Holy Land, at least from the construction point of view, and that's a king by the name Herod the Great, the biggest builder in the Holy Land and the land of Israel.